Okay, it says to find the value of each of the following. So you use your calculator for this. Square root of 2 times the square root of 18. These are not perfect squares. So we're going to go onto the calculator. And we're going to do the square root, which is right above the x squared key. So you got to hit second square root of 2. Close the parentheses if you have that type of calculator, times the square root of 18. And even though neither one of these is a nice clean number, when you multiply them, it comes out to be exactly 6. Okay, so we write that down. Over here we have square root of 8 times the square root of 8. So we do second square root of 8 times the second square root of 8. We hit enter and it comes out cleanly as 8, even though neither of these by themselves, like if you do the square root of 8, it's a crazy, irrational long decimal. When you multiply the square root of 8 times the square root of 8, you get a clean 8. And over here we have 2 times the square root of 5 plus 3 times the square root of 20. So 2 times the square root of 5 times 3 times the square root of 20. When you hit enter there, you get a clean 60 out of it. So it says to use this idea to figure out a rule. When you multiply the square root of a times the square root of b, well, let's look up here. Square root of 2 times the square root of 18 came out as 6. Well, if you notice, what happens if you just multiply the 2 times the 18? Well, that's 2 times 18 is 36, and the square root of 36 is exactly 6. So that leads us to a pattern here. What's 8 times 8? Well, that's 64, and the square root of that 64, right, is exactly 8. Over here, let's just consider the whole numbers. 2 times 3, well, that's 6. And if you multiply the radicals, the square roots, 5 times 20 is 100. So if we keep that under the square root, we have times the square root of 100. And the square root of 100 is just 10, so we have 6 times 10, and that's where we're getting our 60. So this is just how square roots work. When you multiply two numbers that are individually under square roots, you can actually just multiply the two things that are under the square roots, a times b, and take the square root of that whole thing, and that'll get you the answer. Same thing over here. When you have a whole number times a square root, times another whole number times a square root, you can just multiply the two whole numbers to get the product there. Then multiply the two numbers underneath the square roots and take the square root of the product, like we did up here.